All right, so we found the distance from P to A. Okay, so, well, actually we found PA squared. So, which is D squared. Am I looking at the right one? Yes, yes I am. Good. All right, so what are we going to do next? Sorry? So close. 2BP, 2PB squared. All right. So now, like I said to you guys when I first did this one, I'm actually going to keep working down. You guys have got the other page to work on. But I'm going to work down so you can still see the... I can scroll up and down. So what we've got is that. Now, why have I got that? Why do I not have PB squared? Cool. What is... I've got an equation up there. I've got an equal sign. I've got two things that are equal. PA is equal to 2PB. So if I only squared the PB, like as I did PA squared here, if I only squared the PB, they wouldn't be equal anymore. Does that make sense? Yeah? So basically if I said x is equal to 2, and then I said x squared, then I have to do squaring the 2, because that's what was equal. Yeah? Does that make sense? Whatever I did to the one side, I have to do to the other side. That's basically that. I can do whatever I want to the left, as long as I do it to the right as well, it stays equal. That cool? So, well, what is 2PB squared? 2PB all squared. The what? Nah, don't need to double the xy. Well, hang on. I just want that bit first. Sorry, I should have made that more clear. 2PB squared. What is that? Don't worry about the equations yet. What is it? Close. What's 2x squared? Sorry, what's 2x all squared? It's 4x squared, isn't it? If I had that, I have to square both bits. Yeah? So I end up with 4x squared. So that's all I've done here. Because you've got to remember, PB is a distance. Cool? We happy with that? All right, now I can start working. I'll write it on the first line, but it's all good. So what am I going to have now? I'm going to use the distance formula again, you all right? So which one are you going to use as x2? You're going to do it that way, are you? I like the fact that you use the x as x2. It doesn't matter which one. It really doesn't. Because you're going to get two negatives that will cancel each other out, or a negative and a positive. You're still going to end up with the right answer. Doesn't matter which one you choose. So which one do you want to choose as x2? The numbers? You want to use the letters? Okay. I prefer using the letters first so that I've got x minus 2 all squared plus y, and I'll go plus 2 all squared. Do you know why I did plus 2? Because I got a minus minus? Yeah. Cool. So I prefer doing it like that because it makes it neater for me. So what have I got when I expand it out? Oh, hang on. Am I finished that line? What's missing? I've got to have 4 times the distance formula. That make sense? You all right with that? I've got to stop saying, does this make sense? Are you getting it? Is it okay? Okay. Okay, so now I've still got the 4 outside. Now I'm going to expand my... So what have I got? Perfect square, straight off the top of your head. Come on. Okay, you don't have to be quick about it. Jeez. I agree with that. You guys happy with that? Is there happiness and joy? Then what? It's Valentine's Day. There's nothing but happiness and joy and murder. Murder. St. Valentine's Massacre. St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It's nothing but happiness and joy and blood. I'm not sure what year it was. I wasn't there. Despite what you may think. So what do I get? Yep. Now, you could have done these two together. We've done them separately so that we could illustrate and see what's going on, yeah? Okay. Because what I'm going to do now, that we've got those, because now that graphing part we can ignore now. We only really needed it so that we could see where our x1 and our y1 and our x2 and our y2 were when we were doing these distance formulas. And just to illustrate what's going on. Does that make sense? It was just there so that we could see it. I know, but they used to tease me because I always started, I'd press record, it'd go 3, 2, 1, and I'd go, okay guys, every time. 100 videos, okay guys at the start. They ended up, I'd do 3, 2, 1, they told me to not talk, and I'd do 3, 2, 1, and they'd all say, okay guys. I go, alright, thanks for that. Okay guys. And bang, and did it again. So yeah, it's one of those horrible habits that I'm trying to... It is a horrible habit. Of all the habits I've got, that's the worst. I'm not too bad off. Okay, that's what we wrote earlier. We had that earlier. That's what came from the question. PA equals 2PB. Yeah. And then I've just squared them both. Do you remember from the question? We had PA equals 2PB. Then all I've done is square them both so I could use the distance formula. And I've already worked out what PA squared is. And I've got 4PB squared. So I've got that and I've got that. I can now write that down as an equation. So I can have x squared plus 6x plus y squared minus 2y plus 10 equals 4x squared minus 16x plus 4y squared plus 16y plus 32. Can you see what I've done there? From the question, I had PA equals 2PB. I worked out what PA squared would be. Now, why have I used PA squared? Why not PA? Yeah, distance formula is D squared, so distance squared. But I could have done it as PA rather than PA squared, but why didn't I? What is the one thing that having PA instead of PA squared would bring into the equations that I really don't want to have to deal with? Someone said equations. There's already equations. Someone decimals. We're not dealing with decimals, but there's something, and I think you're thinking of it, and I think you've forgotten what the word is. Yeah, there's square roots. There's surds. I don't want to deal with surds in there. So to keep the surds out of it, I leave it as the PA squared. That all right? So that's why we're using those instead of those. Okay, because the formula is D squared. All right. So now it's just a matter of finding like terms and simplifying it. So I'm just going to go, okay, well, there's an x squared. There's an x squared. There's just an x. There's just an x. That's not working as well as it should. Then we have a y squared, and we have a y squared. Then we have just a y, just a y. And then we have just a constant and just a constant. Just numbers. We call them constants because they don't have variables, so they're not going to change. Okay? Now, obviously, collecting like terms, you're going to be dragging them all over to the left or all over to the right. It doesn't really matter which way you go. I am going to go to the right. Can anyone see why I'm going to go to the right? All the numbers on the right are bigger, but it's only really the first one that I care about. My x squareds. I just want to keep them positive, yeah. So I'm now going to have 3x squared. So plus 6, that's minus 6, minus 22x. Plus y becomes a minus y, plus 3y squared, minus 2y becomes a plus 18y plus 22 equals 0. So I've dragged everything from the left over to the right. Is that obvious? Is that apparent? Okay. Just got to remember you're doing inverse operation. So if it's plus 6x, you're minusing it from both sides and all that. Is everyone happy with that? Okay. So we now have the equation. It doesn't ask you to tell me what shape it is, but you should be able to look at that. If I rearranged that a little bit, you should be able to tell me what shape it is. What does it have? It's got an x squared and it's got a y squared, which means it has to be a circle. Okay? It also has a minus 22x and a plus 18y. That just shifts where the center is. It shifts where the origin is. If the origin was the center, then you'd have 0x and 0y. And that's why you don't have. This one in this case has a weird thing. Everyone happy with that? This step is not necessary. That's where we'd stop. You can have the 0 equals on the left or the 0 equals on the right, as long as you're aware of what you're doing. All I did was I moved it over to the right because I wanted the positive x squared. How are we doing with that? Do you reckon you'll be able to replicate that? Maybe. Okay, well, it's going to be interesting because the next one we do, you may need to replicate that